Hello class, today we're going to do a couple of problems from the worksheet I sent you. The worksheet will be due Friday, and I'm going to try to give you some instructions at the end of this video on how to send it. And also I'm going to try to send some instructions through Google Classroom on how you should send it. Okay, looking at the worksheet, I'm going to do a couple of problems from the worksheet to kind of refresh your memory on how to add and subtract fractions and mixed numbers. Look at this video as many times as you need to help you understand how to do the problems. Hopefully this video will help you just remember how to do add and subtract the fractions and mixed numbers. Let's begin. Let's look at number 1 together. Number 1, the problem says 1/2 minus 1/4. Okay, the rule with fractions is that you have to have a common denominator. And we know our denominators are 2 numbers at the bottom. So we got a 2 and a 4. So we know those are not common denominators. I told you, if you know your multiplication tables real well, you can kind of automatically see your common denominator is 4. If you're still having trouble figuring out the common denominator, remember I told you can write the multiples. So let's do our multiples of 2 and 4. And your multiples, again, everybody, are just your timetables, but it's just the answer part of your timetables. So if I think about my multiples of 2, I'm just doing my 2 timetables without actually writing the problem. I want to do just the answer part of my 2 timetables. So my first one is 2, and then it's 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. Okay, I just need a few of them. And then I'll write my multiples of 4. I got 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. Now, most of y'all in the class know that as soon as I wrote 4, I should have stopped, because I see up here that 4 and that number, they match. So remember, when you find your common denominator, you find the least common denominator. It's the first number that you see the multiples have in common. And that first number they got in common is 4. If you notice, both of them have an 8, and that could act as a common denominator. But you're looking for that least common denominator, so 4 will be your least common denominator. So again, to find your common denominator, list your multiples. Okay, so once we list our multiples, we know that 4 is our new denominator. Remember, I told you all in class that if your denominator doesn't change, your numerator does not change. So this one, since its denominator is already 4, that means that denominator is not going to change. But this one over here, our denominator did change, okay? Now, I told you all a while back that when I looked at my multiples of 2, I noticed that 4 was my second number that I wrote. So that lets me know that, okay, 2 times 2 gave me 4. Now, either I can look at my multiples and see how many numbers I wrote before I got to 4, which was 1, 2. Or I can think about my timetables. 2 times what will give me 4? So I know that 2 times 2 will give me 4. So since I multiply this denominator by 2 to get 4, I'm going to multiply that numerator also by 2 to get 2. 1/2 is the same thing as 2/4. It's just written different, but they're exactly the same. Okay? So now my problem has a common denominator. So at this point, I can just go ahead and subtract. We know that with fractions, a sure way of getting it wrong is what? And you all should be saying is, a sure way of getting it wrong is subtracting straight across. You will not say 2 minus 1 is 1 and 4 minus 4 is 0. Okay, that's not possible. You can't even have 0 in the denominator. When you subtract these fractions, you keep your denominator, because they both the same now, and you only subtract the numerator, so 2 minus 1 is 1. So my answer is 1/4. Okay, let's look at number 11. 11, I got 1 and 10 over 21 plus 4 and 5/7. Okay, our numbers are a little bit larger, but it does not matter. Okay, We work this problem out the same way. The only difference between this one and the last one is that this one has a whole number. Okay. This one we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start off by doing our multiples. So I'm going to do my multiples of 7 first, and then the multiples of 21. Now, I started with 7 because 7 is smaller than 21. Sometimes you see that other number in the multiple. So that's why I'm starting with 7 first. So if I start with 7, I know I got 7 times 1 is 7, 7 times 2 is 14, 7 times 3 is 21, and I'm going to stop right there, okay? If I do my multiple of 21, I'm going to say 21. I know the next one, 42, but I don't have to write 42, because what do I see? I see that this one got a 21, and the first number in the multiples of 21 is 21. So this is my least common denominator. Your least common denominator is going to be the first number that you see that both set of multiples have in common first. The first number they have in common is 21. This one got a 7, but this doesn't. This got a 14, but this one doesn't. This one got a 21, and this one got a 21. That's the first number they have in common. So my least common denominator on this one is 21. So I'm going to write my denominator. And if you notice, I left a little space. Right here, I'm just going to bring down my whole numbers. Do not leave your whole numbers down. Bring it down in the problem. Okay, so now if you notice right here, everybody, this denominator didn't change. So since this denominator didn't change, this numerator does not change either. This one did. So remember when I wrote my set of multiples for 7, I had 7, 14, 21. I can look at this a couple of ways. Either I can go up here and say 7 times what gave me 21. Or I can come down here and count. How many numbers did I write before I got to 21? I wrote 1, 2, 3. I wrote 3 numbers. So I know that says 7 times 3 is 21. So I'm going to multiply this 7 by 3, and that gives me 21. So since I multiply this denominator by 3 to get 21, I'm going to multiply this numerator also by 3. So whatever you multiply that denominator by, that's the same thing you're going to multiply that numerator by. Okay? So this numerator is 15. Okay? Trying to get out that light. Okay, so now I have the same denominators. Okay, so a sure way of getting everything wrong is adding straight across. You do not add straight across. Okay, you keep your denominator, which is 21. You move it over. And we're going to add our numerators. We got 10 plus 15. We got 25. And 1 plus 4 is 5. Now, if you paid attention in class, you should know something's wrong with this problem. You cannot have an improper mixed number, okay? You cannot have an improper mixed number. This is an improper fraction. Again, let me review that. Improper fractions is when your numerator is bigger than your denominator. You can't have this problem like this. So we got to change this. I got 25 over 21. So looking at this problem right here, I can do it a couple of ways. I can do it mentally. Okay, I can say, how many 21s can I get out of 25? And you can think about money. If you got $25, how many $21 bills you can get out of there? You can get one $21 bill with $121 out of 25, okay? Or you can ask yourself, you can divide this. You can put 21 on the outside. Remember I told you the bottom number is always on the outside. Your top number always on the inside. 21 are going to 25 one time. And remember we put the 1 over that, over the 25. And remember I always say, we always start off with 21 are going to 2. It won't. So I always tell y'all to put a 0 right there just to hold that place. But 21 are going to 25 one time. And then finish working it out. 1 times 21 is 21. Subtract it and you got 4. So right here you got 1 and 4 over 21. Okay, so I can use this right here. Okay, now the only thing I'm going to do that's different, these whole numbers right here, I got to add them together. So I got 1 plus 5. 1 plus 5 is 6, and then I'm going to keep 4 over 21. Now let me go back mentally. mentally you can say, okay, I can get one set of 21s out of 25. So when I take that 21 out of this 25, I add that 1 to this 5. And that's how I got this 6. And then you ask yourself, okay, if I take 21 out of 25, how many do I have left? I got 4 left. So that's how I got that 4. And again, you always keep your common denominator. And that problem could have been simplified for the ones who kind of got simplification real good. Go ahead and simplify them. I am going to do another lesson on simplifying, so don't worry about it this time. Okay, let's look at number 13 together. 13, I got 7 4/5 minus 3 8/20. Okay. So with this problem, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find a common denominator. So we'll write our multiples of 5 and our multiples of 20. Now, start with the smaller number. And then do your larger number. So for my multiples of 5, I got 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. I'm going to stop there. Okay? And then for my multiples of 20, I got 20, 40, 60, 80. But I'm stopping at 20 because I see this right here. Now, again, your multiples are just your timetables. Let's see, this 5 times 1, 5 times 2, 5 times 3, 5 times 4. It's just the answer part of the timetable. Those are your multiples. Now, I got a 5 here, but I don't have one here. I got a 10, but I don't have one here. I got a 15, but I don't have one here. I got a 20, and I got a 20 here. So this is the first number that they both have in common. You're looking for that first number that they got in common. That's what you're looking for. So my common denominator is 20. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to use that again. So bring down your new mixed number. Our new denominator is 20. And again, these are just equivalents. They're equivalent. That means they're the same. It's just written different, but they're the same. Okay? And then bring down your whole numbers. Always bring down your whole numbers. That's the correct way of writing math. Okay, this denominator did not change. So since this one did not change, your numerator is not going to change either. This one did change, so I can do this 2 ways. I can say 5 times what gives me 20. Or I can look at my multiples and I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4. I wrote 4 numbers until I got to 20. So 5 times 4 is 20, and 4 times 4, that's 16. Okay? So pay attention to your sign. We're not adding, we're subtracting this time, okay? So always subtract your fraction parts first, okay? Always subtract and add fractional parts first, and then do the whole number part. Always do this in math. Okay, so I got 6 minus 8 is 8. I'm sorry, 16 minus 8 is 8. And then keep my denominator. 7 minus 3 is 4. And again, we'll work on simplifying in a whole nother separate lesson. Okay? Now, let's look at number 1 at the bottom. Not all the way at the bottom, in the middle section of your worksheet. So I got 6 and 1/4 minus 3 and 1/20. I got a circle in the middle. 6 and 1/4 minus 3 and 1/20. Now this is nothing different about this from what we've been doing. It's just giving you 2 different problems. They're asking you to do greater than, less than. We know that if you think about the kind of like the mouth, okay? If the mouth opened up towards the problem, that means that problem that it opened up towards, you're saying that number is greater than. Okay, so if I point the mouth this way, that means whatever problem is in front of this, that means that problem is greater than. And we know what an equal sign looks like. So right here, I'm just going to solve two different problems. But look at this problem, everybody. Take a minute and just really look at this problem and tell me, you can't tell me, but think about what you notice about these two problems. Now, if you notice like I did, these are exactly the same problems. Exactly the same. 6 and 1/4, 6 and 1/4, minus 3 and 1/12, 3 and 1/12. They're exactly the same. It is no reason for me to work these problems out because when I work them out, my answers are going to come out to be the same answers. So I want y'all to kind of look at this. We always talk about this, looking at problems and what makes sense and think about it before you even start it. Don't work out this problem because they're exactly the same. So what that's telling me is that when I work this one out and I work this one, I'm going to get the same answer. So if they're the same answer, that means these two problems are equal to each other. They're equal. Okay, so don't even worry about working out that problem. Now, work it out if you want to get practice or if you want to see if what I'm saying is right, but it should come out to be equal. They're exactly the same problems. So let's look at number 3. Okay, so I got 8 and 3/4 minus 3 and 5/7, 9 and 6/7 minus 3 and 2/14. So we're just going to work this problem out first and see what the answer is. Work out this problem, see what the answer is, and make a comparison on if it's less than, greater than, or equal. So let's start with this problem first. Do one at a time. Okay, so right here I got the I got to do my multiples of 4 and 7. Okay, so for 4, I got 4, 8. 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. I'm going to stop right there. For my multiples of 7, I got 7, 14, 21, 28. And I'm going to stop right there. And the reason I stop right here because I see 28 right here. So we're going to make a comparison. Okay, if we look at all the numbers here, I wrote a lot of them out. Okay, a lot of them out. But again, you're finding that what is that first number that you see that they both got in common? 21 is the first number that you see that they both have in common. So the least common denominator here is 28. And I'm going to leave that there. So I'm going to write my new mixed number with its denominator 28. And I'm just going to bring down the whole numbers. Okay. Now, to find out my numerator, okay, I got to look up here this 4. So I can do it 2 ways again. I can count this and see how many numbers I wrote before I got to 28. So I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. So that means I got to multiply 4 by 7. And then I got to also come up here and multiply that numerator by 7. Or you can ask yourself, 4 times what give me 28? 4 times 7. So if I multiply the denominator by 7, the numerator also got to be multiplied by 7. So this is 21. At the bottom, I got to say to do the same thing. Okay, how many numbers did I write to get to 28 with my 7 multiples? I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4. So 7 times 4 is 28. So I got to multiply 5 times 4. And that's 20. Or again, I can ask myself, 7 times what? Give me 28. 7 times 4. So that means I got to multiply that 5 by that 4 also. Okay? So that's set up. I got my same denominators. Make sure you pay attention to your sign. My sign is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract my fraction part. 21 minus 20 is 1 over 28. And 8 minus 3 is 5. So this answer is 5 and 1/28. And I'm going to erase all of this because I need that space to do my other problem. So I know that problem is 5 and 1/28. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Now let's do this other one right here. Okay, so I need to write my multiples of 7 and 14, okay? So I got 7, 14. That's my multiple of 7. And I can stop right there, everybody. Because what I see right here, I see 14 right there. If you write your multiples of 14, your first number is going to be 14. That is my least common denominator, 14. Okay? So my new denominator is 14. And again, these are equivalent fractions. Or, I'm sorry, equivalent mixed numbers. That means they're the same. Just written different. This one did not change, everybody. Bring down your whole numbers first. This one didn't change because that's 14 and that's 14. This one did not change. So that means your numerator is not going to change either. Now this one did change, okay? 7 and then 14. So you can look up here or you can ask yourself, 7 times what is 14? 7 times 2 is 14. Or you can count. How many numbers did I write until I got to 14? 1, 2. So multiply this by 2 and multiply this one by 2. So 6 times 2 is 12. So now I'm going to subtract. Always subtract your fractional part first. 12 times 2 is 10. I'm sorry, 12 minus 2 is 10. And over 14. And then 9 minus 3 is 6. Okay? So that answer is 6 and 10 over 14. So now you're at the point now where you're trying to see which one is greater than, if it's greater than, less than, or equal sign going in the middle. Remember I told you like you can think about the alligator mouth, the Pac-Man, it does not matter. The mouth going to open up towards the larger number. If both of the numbers the same, it's going to be equal. So let's look at our numbers. We know that these are not the same numbers, okay? They're not the same numbers. Now, even though I have not I can simplify this mixed number over here. It doesn't matter in this point because look at your whole numbers. This is a 5 and it's a 6. This is a proper fraction. This problem is not going to go up to, or even go down to 5 or go up to 7. This number is not going to change and go to 6, 1 out of 28. Okay. So to let me know what inequality symbol to put in the middle, I'm looking at these whole numbers. I know that 6 is bigger than 5. So since I know that 6 is bigger than 5, I know my mouth is going to open up towards that mixed number. Well, thank y'all, everybody. That concludes our lesson. I'm doing kind of just like I do in class. I do so many problems, and then I give y'all a worksheet. Again, rewind and look at this video as many times you need to so that you can do good. And like I always say, everybody, education is so important. Okay, so I know we're not in school, but we're online, so I expect for y'all to log in every day and look at your work and do your work for my class, Miss Kyle's class, and Miss Long class, and just take it serious. I know you at home, but, stop playing your games for a little while and y'all just do your work. Take it serious. I want y'all to be ready for 6th grade. And I'm going to try to send y'all a video every week of some kind of lesson so that y'all can be prepared. We've done a lot of work before y'all left out. I know I worked y'all hard and stuff, but we still working hard until, it's official, it's summer. Okay, now what I want y'all to do with y'all work out your work on a sheet of paper. Take a picture of all of your work. And once you take a picture of your work, send that work to your email, to your Google email address. And then I'm going to send you some instructions on how to get that screenshot or that picture of your work from your email and tell you how to upload it. And I'm going to try to send out a video before this week out, or I'm going to send out some instructions for you to be able to do that, because I do want to see your work. Again, you already know I don't like for you all just to write answers. That's not acceptable. You do need to do your work. And y'all be safe, and I will be talking to you all throughout the 9 weeks in some form or fashion. Goodbye.